Claire needed a fresh start. The city had become a suffocating weight. She craved open spaces and quiet nights. The old Victorian house seemed like the perfect escape. It stood on a hill overlooking a valley. The real estate agent called it a fixer-upper. Claire saw it as a sanctuary. Little did she know it was anything but. The moving truck rumbled down the long driveway. Boxes piled up in the hallway. A faint scent of mildew hung in the air. Shadows danced in the corners of her eyes. Claire dismissed it as exhaustion. She was eager to start her new life. She hung pictures and arranged furniture. But as night fell, a sense of unease settled over her. The silence of the countryside was different. It was an oppressive, heavy silence. It felt as if the house itself was holding its breath. The floorboards creaked beneath her feet. The wind whistled through cracks in the window panes. Claire told herself it was just an old house settling. But deep down, a sliver of doubt began to grow. The shadows seemed deeper now, more menacing. The scent of mildew intensified. She tried to ignore it, but the feeling of being watched intensified. Sleep didn't come easily that night. The second night brought with it a new layer of unease. As Claire lay in bed, she heard a faint scratching sound coming from the walls. It was like tiny claws scraping against the plaster. She sat up, straining her ears, trying to pinpoint the source. The scratching stopped. She lay back down, her heart pounding in her chest. A few minutes later, the scratching started again, this time closer. It seemed to be coming from inside the walls, right next to her head. Claire jumped out of bed, switching on the bedside lamp. The room was empty. The scratching stopped abruptly. She stood there, frozen, listening intently. Silence. She convinced herself it was mice. Old houses often had mice. But the scratching sounded too deliberate, too rhythmic. It wasn't the frantic scurrying of rodents, it was something else, something more sinister. The following nights brought new disturbances. Claire started hearing whispers. Faint, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to drift from the hallway outside her bedroom door. They were like whispers on the wind, impossible to decipher. Yet, they carried a chilling weight. The whispers grew louder each night. They seemed closer, more insistent. Claire began to dread the darkness. One afternoon, while exploring the attic, Claire stumbled upon a hidden door. It was concealed behind a large tapestry, its outline barely visible in the dim light. Curiosity overriding her apprehension, she pulled the tapestry aside. The door was old, made of heavy oak with a rusty iron handle. She tried to open it, but it was stuck fast. She pushed harder, putting her weight against it. With a loud groan, the door swung inward, revealing a dark, narrow staircase leading down into the depths of the house. A musty smell wafted up from the darkness below, carrying with it a hint of decay. Claire hesitated. A sense of foreboding washed over her. She had a strong urge to close the door and forget she ever found it. But her curiosity was too strong. She had to know what lay hidden beneath the house. Taking a deep breath, she stepped onto the staircase. The air grew colder with each step she took. The darkness seemed to press in on her, suffocating her. The musty smell intensified, now with a distinct metallic tang. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into somewhere she shouldn't be. The staircase led down to a damp, earthen-floored basement. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and something else. Something acrid and unsettling. A single flickering light bulb cast long, dancing shadows across the rough stone walls. In the center of the room, a stone altar stood draped in cobwebs. As Claire's eyes adjusted to the dim light, she noticed something horrifying. Faces. Pale, gaunt faces emerged from the walls, their eyes hollow and dark. They seemed to be trapped within the stone, their expressions frozen in silent screams. They stared at her with an unnerving intensity. A wave of terror washed over Claire. She stumbled backward, her breath catching in her throat. The faces seemed to shift and writhe in the flickering light, their hollow eyes following her every move. They were everywhere, surrounding her, trapping her. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Her legs felt like lead. She couldn't move. She could only stare at the faces, their silent screams echoing in her mind. She turned and fled, scrambling back up the stairs, desperate to escape the horrifying sight. She slammed the hidden door shut, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't stop running until she reached her bedroom, where she collapsed onto the bed, trembling with fear. Section 5. Unearthing the Past. The next day, Claire sought answers. She drove to the local historical society. She met Mr. Abernathy, a kindly old man with vast knowledge. He listened as Claire recounted the strange occurrences. Mr. Abernathy revealed a dark secret. The house was built on an ancient burial ground. The land had been desecrated. The spirits were restless, trapped between worlds. They seek release, Mr. Abernathy said. They are angry, and they want their resting place back. He warned Claire to leave the house,